In today's lesson, as we continue our series on how to develop a life of daily prayer and devotion, I want to help you understand how to combat one of the biggest weapons the enemy will use against you to discourage you. But before we move into our lesson, I would also like to invite you to subscribe to our channel if you think you would enjoy receiving one of our devotional lessons each week. This is a great way to develop and deepen your walk with God. So make sure you click on the subscribe button below and join us in the journey. One of the biggest weapons that the devil uses against us is the feeling of condemnation. He likes to incite this defeated spirit within us by causing us to compare ourselves to other people and what they are accomplishing as opposed to what we are doing. We observe someone else who has a deeply dedicated prayer and devotion life, and we think to ourselves, well, that could never be me. These feelings only serve to tear down what God is trying to do in you. I remember such a feeling of condemnation at one point in my life, but this time it was not of a spiritual nature. I had just signed up for a brand new gym membership. So with my new membership card proudly in hand, I set about getting in shape. I strutted confidently over to the free weights, envisioning in my mind the transformation that was going to take place in my body. It was all right there in my mind. Huge muscles with bulging biceps, triceps, quadriceps, whatever kind of ceps you want to think. Okay, so I happen to be very imaginative. Unfortunately, though, when I finally arrived at the free weights, there was already assembled there a large group of huge guys standing around. I don't mean big, I mean huge. With the long row of mirrors that the health club had so kindly placed before us, I quickly began to realize my diminutive size in comparison to these hulks of human flesh. I could also see in their eyes as they took me in, with smirks of skepticism on each of their faces. Suddenly, the treadmill and the spin cycle classes started looking much more appealing, so I turned and headed a different direction, with no more grandiose visions of me as the new Mr. America competitor. Theodore Roosevelt put it this way. He said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." How true a statement. When we compare ourselves to others, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to become the person God has made us to be. Proverbs 14:30 tells us that a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. Comparing yourselves to others only leads to dissatisfaction and disappointment, and this can be done in two different ways. Yes, there is a side of it that deals with low self-esteem and condemnation, a place where we let others define God's plan for our life. But it can also become self-righteousness. Think of the scribes and the Pharisees of Jesus' time who looked down upon other people's accomplishments in comparison to their own. They thought of themselves as better than other people, and for it they gained the rebuke of the Lord for their judgmental attitudes. Paul described how we can avoid either of these mistakes in the book of Romans. He said, "There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit." Comparison to others will never allow you to be the person God is trying to build. You don't have to pray 2 hours a day in order to be a productive and loved child of God. Give what you can and do what God has called you to do. Don't compare yourself to others who may be able to give more time to their prayer and devotion. Also, as you develop your prayer and devotion time, don't think yourself better than others. Instead, find ways to help elevate these people through the maturity and strength that God has built into you through His work of grace. We find our worth, as Paul said, in Christ Jesus. So go ahead and pick up those spiritual weights and build up your temple to the glory of God. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have enjoyed today's lesson, we would like to invite you to click the like button below and share your comments with us. Also, find a friend to share it with or subscribe to our channel. We are constantly adding new lessons of faith to grow the Christian believer. In our final lesson next week, we will be discussing how little goals can make big differences. You won't want to miss this lesson. So until then, God bless you and be ye transformed.